They fed armies without fertilizer. Then the knowledge disappeared. Here's a fact that should make any serious historian pause. During World War II, civilians with no access to fertilizer, no fuel, no machinery, and no supply chains routinely outproduced modern gardens, drowning in chemicals. Not slightly more, not marginally better. In many documented cases, yields were doubled or tripled. And it wasn't luck. It wasn't better weather. It was knowledge. Knowledge that worked so well it threatened an industry before that industry even fully existed. What followed after 1945 wasn't progress. It was amnesia by design. This is the story of a soil system powerful enough to feed battalions, resilient enough to survive bombed cities, and dangerous enough that it had to be erased. And more importantly, it's about how you can still use it today. Now let's get straight to it. The real post-war agricultural revolution wasn't about feeding people. A fertilizer industry worth hundreds of billions didn't just appear. It replaced something, and what it replaced had to be forgotten. Soil biology vanished from textbooks. Farming became chemistry, and living soil was quietly rebranded as, well, just dirt. Chop and drop wasn't gardening, it was soil engineering. The first buried secret is almost offensively simple. When a plant finished producing, World War II gardeners didn't pull it out. They cut it at ground level and left it exactly where it grew. Dead plants were not trash. They were currency. This method, later called chop and drop, mimicked how forests have built fertility for millions of years. Fallen material fed bacteria and fungi. Those organisms converted dead matter into plant-available nutrients, and every season the soil got richer instead of poorer. The results were measurable. Gardens using chop and drop retained up to 70% more moisture. Weed pressure collapsed. Erosion stopped. USDA tracking in the early 1940s showed tomato yields up to 3 times higher than comparable chemically managed plots. If you apply this today, the steps are brutally simple. Grow your crop. Harvest it. Cut the plant at soil level. Leave the roots. Leave the biomass. Let soil life do the work for you. Repeat season after season. Fertility compounds. Forest soil was the original inoculant, and, well, it still works. World War II gardeners solved this by borrowing biology from the most fertile system on Earth, forests. They took small amounts of rich, dark soil from beneath leaf litter in healthy woods and introduced it into dead gardens. Not truckloads, just handfuls. That soil carried billions of bacteria, fungal spores, protozoa and organisms that, honestly, science still struggles to catalogue. To apply this today, you don't need much. Just, identify a healthy, undisturbed forest. Collect a small amount of soil from under decomposing leaves. Mix it lightly into the top few inches of your bed, or simply sprinkle it across the surface before mulching. Then, just stop disturbing the soil. Let the organisms establish. You're not feeding plants, you're building an ecosystem. And that ecosystem, well, it will outlast any bag of chemicals. Plants were never meant to grow alone. Modern agriculture, it worships monoculture. Rows, spacing, isolation. World War II gardens quietly revived something far older and, honestly, far more efficient: companion guild planting. The most powerful example was the Three Sisters system. Corn, beans and squash grown together as a single unit. Corn provided vertical structure. Beans fixed nitrogen directly from the air. Squash shaded the soil, locking in moisture and suppressing weeds. Below ground, fungal networks connected all three crops. Nutrients were shared, stress signals travelled, resources flowed where needed. Compost tea beat disease without killing everything else. World War II gardeners faced constant disease pressure, especially in wet climates. To do this today, use finished compost that smells earthy, never rotten. Steep it in non-chlorinated water. Stir occasionally. Apply immediately to soil and foliage. Don't store it. This is living material. You know, bare soil was recognized as a mistake even back then. Winter really exposed one of the biggest flaws in modern gardening. Bare soil, well, it just bleeds fertility. World War II growers knew this and absolutely refused to leave ground uncovered. Instead, they planted cover crops. Clover fixed nitrogen all winter long. Rye anchored the soil and fed microbes through root exudates even during those cold months. When spring came, they'd cut the cover right at soil level and plant directly through it. Roots decomposed underground, leaving handy channels for air and water. Surface material became mulch. So the soil entered spring biologically primed instead of exhausted. To apply this today, all you need to do is scatter cover crop seeds after harvest. Just lightly rake them in and let winter do the work for you. In spring, remember to cut, not pull. Plant right through the residue. Your soil will wake up faster than any fertilized bed nearby. Seed saving wasn't nostalgia. It was a survival strategy. When supply chains collapsed, saved seeds meant food. But World War II gardeners understood something deeper. Seeds adapt. Commercial varieties are bred for average conditions. Saved seeds are selected for your conditions: soil, rain, pests, timing. Each generation gets better. Gardeners saved seeds from plants that survived drought, disease and early frost. Within a few seasons, home-adapted varieties outperformed anything purchased. The process was methodical. Select the strongest plants, let seeds fully mature, dry them thoroughly, store them cool, dark and dry. Then you just repeat. These weren't just seeds, they were, genetic memory. After the war, hybrids replaced open-pollinated varieties. Seed saving declined. Dependency increased. Bringing it back is an act of resilience. Why this knowledge scared an industry? Well, these methods shared one fatal flaw from a corporate perspective. They just couldn't be patented. They regenerated themselves. They removed dependency. Synthetic fertilizers, they degrade soil over time. These systems, though, they build it. Chemical agriculture requires constant purchases. These methods, they compound without buying anything. That's why they vanished from curricula. That's why they were reframed as folklore instead of science. But honestly, the results never stopped being real. So, how do you apply all of this starting now? Stop removing organic matter. Stop leaving soil bare. Introduce biology instead of chemicals. Grow plants together. And save seeds from what survives, not just from what merely produces. You don't need land. A backyard works. Raised beds work. Heck, containers even work if biology is respected. Feed the soil. Protect it. Let it live. Because, you know, the next time shelves go empty, the difference won't be knowledge. It'll be preparation. If this kind of forgotten history matters to you, subscribe to Old World Prep. Share this with someone who still thinks fertilizer is the only answer. And remember, every garden that builds living soil is one less system that can be controlled. I'll see you in the next one.